Welcome, dear listeners, to another journey through the pages of time, a journey that I hope will gently lull you into the realm of dreams. Tonight, we will venture into a distant era, an era of slow caravans and boundless horizons, to explore an ordinary day in the life of a man whose fame still resonates today, albeit in a calm and measured tone. We speak of Marco Polo, the Venetian merchant, and his path along the legendary Silk Road. Before we begin, let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Now, make yourselves comfortable, dim the lights, perhaps turn on a fan for that background hum that so often induces sleep. Let the worries of the day slip away. As we ease into tonight's journey together, let yourselves be carried away gently into this night's voyage. The morning sun, a pale golden orb, rising lazily above the sandy dunes, cast long, indistinct shadows across the endless expanse of the desert. It was a slow awakening, almost imperceptible, like the sigh of a sleeping giant. The air, still cool from the night, carried with it the subtle scent of sand and a distant hint of spices, an aroma that mingled with the light smoke from the rekindling fires. Marco Polo, with a measured and unhurried movement, stretched beneath his rough wool blanket. His bed, a simple rug spread on the compact sand, had offered sufficient, though not luxurious, rest. Life on the Silk Road was a succession of small comforts and great hardships, but with time, everything found its balance, its reassuring routine. The sounds of the camp gradually became more distinct. The soft bleating of a sheep, the rustle of a merchant's robes as he moved, the crackle of burning wood. Each sound was a thread in the silent fabric of the morning, a gentle call to the day that was about to begin. Marco rose, slowly brushing the sand from his clothes. His linen tunic, though clean, bore the marks of countless days of travel, a silent map of the distances covered. He approached the nearest fire, where a fellow traveler, an elderly man with a white beard and wise eyes, was already preparing tea. The steam rising from the metal cup was a small white plume against the pale blue sky. The tea, strong and bitter, was a daily ritual, a way to awaken the senses and prepare for the hours that would follow. Each sip was a small moment of contemplation, a moment to savor the warmth and quiet before the bustle. As he drank, Marco observed the camp coming to life. Camels, patient and resilient creatures, were being loaded with bales of silk, finely decorated ceramics, and sacks of spices. Each load was carefully tied, each knot checked multiple times, because a poorly secured load could mean delays and precious losses. The process was slow, methodical, almost a silent dance between men and animals, a rhythm that repeated day after day, week after week. The voices of the merchants, initially subdued, grew livelier. They spoke of prices, routes, dangers, and opportunities. These were practical conversations, devoid of emphasis, focused on the tangible reality of trade. Marco listened, absorbing information like a sponge, but never intervening impatiently. Patience was an essential virtue on the Silk Road, a lesson learned through countless sunrises and sunsets. The dust, a constant companion of every journey, began to rise slightly with the movement of feet and hooves. It was a fine, almost impalpable dust, settling on everything, tinting the landscape with a uniform veil. It was not bothersome, not yet, but a constant reminder of the ephemeral nature of everything, of the transience of the journey. The sun slowly climbed, and with it the temperature. The air, which had been cool, now began to warm, promising a long, sunny day. Marco prepared himself mentally, not with anxiety, but with serene acceptance. Each day was one more step, one less stretch of road, a gradual approach to the destination. The departure of the caravan was a choreographed event, a slow unfolding of figures and forms. The camels, with their rhythmic swaying gait, moved in a line, their humps laden like small moving mountains. The merchants, on foot or horseback, followed them, their faces covered by turbans to protect themselves from the sun and dust. The sound of bells hanging from the camels' necks was a monotonous melody, a constant call to movement, to inexorable progress. Marco joined the caravan, his horse, a sturdy animal accustomed to the desert, moved with a sure step. There was no haste, no competition. The Silk Road was not a race, but a marathon, a journey that required endurance and perseverance. The hours passed, marked by the slow progress of the caravan. The landscape gradually changed, from sandy dunes to gravel plains, then to rock formations eroded by the wind. Each variation was subtle, almost imperceptible, but enough to break the visual monotony. The sun, at noon, was a burning disk in the sky, and the shadows had shortened almost to disappearance. The heat was intense, but not oppressive, a dry heat that did not weigh down the air. The merchants spoke less, conserving energy, their gazes fixed on the horizon, searching for a landmark, a sign of civilization. The silence of the desert was profound, broken only by the rustle of the wind and the sound of the camels' bells. It was a silence that invited reflection, contemplation. Marco, in his progress, thought of the fabrics he would trade, the gems he would admire, the stories he would hear. These were calm thoughts, without the urgency of decision, but with the tranquility of long-term planning. Lunch was a simple affair, eaten in the shade of a rock or a stretched canvas. Dry bread, goat cheese, dates, and water. Every bite was appreciated, every sip of water, a blessing. There was no waste, no excess. Frugality was a necessity, but also a form of wisdom, a way to appreciate the small things. After the meal, a short rest, a light nap to recharge energy. The body adapted to the rhythms of the desert, learning to take advantage of every moment of quiet. The awakening was gentle, without jolts, a gradual return to the awareness of the journey. The afternoon was a replica of the morning, but with a different light, softer, more golden. The sun began its slow descent, tinting the sky with shades of orange and pink. The shadows lengthened again, dancing on the sand like silent ghosts. The caravan continued its tireless progress, a serpent of men and animals winding through the landscape. The day's destination was a small outpost, a caravanserais, a stopping point where travelers could find shelter, water, and food. The anticipation of the destination was a comforting thought, a fixed point in a constantly moving world. The arrival at the caravanserai was a moment of relief, but also of renewed activity. The camels were unloaded, watered, and fed. The merchants hurried to find a place for the night, to prepare the evening meal. The caravanserai courtyard filled with voices, laughter, and sounds of life. Marco found his corner, spread his rug, lit a small fire to heat water. Dinner was a moment of sharing, of stories told in low voices, of news exchanged among travelers. They spoke of distant cities, rare goods, unexpected encounters. These were stories that intertwined, creating a tapestry of human experiences. Night fell quickly, bringing with it a biting cold. The sky filled with stars, millions of luminous points shining with surprising clarity. It was a majestic spectacle, but also familiar, a constant reminder of the immensity of the world and the smallness of man. Marco wrapped himself in his blanket, the fire slowly dying, the embers glowing like red eyes in the dark. The sounds of the caravanserai faded, giving way to the silence of the night. Sleep came gently, a warm and reassuring embrace, and so another day on the Silk Road came to an end. A day made of small gestures, slow progressions, silences and sounds. A day that dissolved into memory, leaving behind only the sensation of a continuous journey, of an existence that flowed unhurriedly, without drama, only with the reassuring cadence of time passing. Every breath was a step, every step a breath in an infinite cycle of movement and rest. The sand under the rug was cool, the blanket warm, and the distant bleating of a camel was the last note of a day closing, bringing with it the promise of a new, identical, peaceful tomorrow. The wind whispered softly through the cracks in the caravanserai walls, a sound that was almost a lullaby, an ancient whisper that spoke of distances and time. Marco, immersed in the warmth of his bed, felt his body relax, every muscle stretching, every tension easing. The journey was toil, yes, but a toil that brought with it a deep satisfaction, the satisfaction of a task accomplished, of a path undertaken. Thoughts became slower, more blurred, like clouds dissolving in the sky. The images of the day mingled, the faces of the merchants, the humps of the camels, the shades of the desert. Everything merged into a single, indistinct memory, a tapestry of sensations that required no interpretation, only acceptance. Sleep was not an escape, but a natural continuation of the day, another state of being, equally valid and significant. The heartbeat slowed, breathing became deeper, more regular. It was an ancient, primordial rhythm, resonating with the rhythm of the desert itself, with the slow progress of the seasons, with the imperceptible movement of the stars. There was nothing to fear, nothing to rush, only the flow of time, the sweet surrender to rest. The stars, outside, continued to shine, indifferent to the sleep of men, silent witnesses to a world that continued to turn, to a journey that never ended. And in that deep silence, in that enveloping quiet, Marco Polo, the tireless traveler, let himself go. Another day on the Silk Road, dissolving into the night. Another dream beginning to take shape, light and weightless, like sand carried by the wind. The next day unfolded with the same deliberate pace, a familiar rhythm that had become the very essence of their existence. The sun, a gentle warmth on the skin, began its slow ascent, painting the vast canvas of the sky with soft hues of peach and rose. The air, still crisp from the desert night, carried the faint, earthy scent of damp sand, a subtle reminder of the dew that had settled and then evaporated with the dawn. Marco, ever observant, noted the way the light shifted, how it illuminated the tiny imperfections in the sand, the delicate patterns left by the wind during the night. These were the small, quiet details that filled his days, the textures and nuances that composed the grand tapestry of his journey. The caravan stirred, a slow, deliberate awakening. The low murmurs of voices, the soft clinking of metal, the rustle of fabrics, each sound contributed to the gentle symphony of the morning. The camels, those patient beasts of burden, rose with a sigh, their long shadows stretching across the ground as they were re-laden with their precious cargo. Silk, spices, porcelain, each bale and crate represented a story, a connection between distant lands, a testament to the enduring human desire for exchange. Marco watched the meticulous process, the careful adjustments, the practiced movements of the merchants. There was no haste, no urgency, only the steady, unwavering commitment to the task at hand. This deliberate pace, this absence of rush, was a soothing balm to the soul, a stark contrast to the hurried existence he had known in Venice. The journey resumed, a seamless continuation of the day before. The landscape, though vast and seemingly unchanging, offered subtle variations. A cluster of hardy desert flowers, their petals a vibrant splash of color against the muted tones of the sand, caught his eye. A lone gnarled tree, its branches twisted by countless winds, stood as a silent sentinel, a testament to resilience. These small discoveries were like whispered secrets, moments of quiet beauty that punctuated the endless horizon. The hours drifted by, marked by the sun's slow arc across the sky, the rhythmic sway of his horse, the soft thud of its hooves on the compacted earth, became a meditative cadence. Marco's thoughts, unburdened by the demands of immediate action, flowed freely, like the desert wind. He recalled the intricate patterns on a Persian rug, the delicate aroma of jasmine tea in a distant oasis, the quiet dignity in the eyes of a nomadic elder. These memories, woven into the fabric of his present journey, created a rich inner landscape, a personal tapestry of experiences. The midday sun, now a brilliant disk, cast short, sharp shadows. The heat intensified, but it was a dry, clean heat, easily managed by the loose-fitting garments and the constant, gentle breeze. The merchants, their faces shielded by turbans, rode in comfortable silence, their gazes steady, their minds focused on the path ahead. There was a shared understanding, an unspoken camaraderie, born of shared hardship and shared purpose. The silence of the desert was profound, a vast emptiness that was paradoxically full of subtle sounds. The whisper of the wind, the distant cry of a bird, the soft crunch of sand beneath hooves. It was a silence that invited introspection, a space for the mind to wander and to rest. Marco found solace in this quietude, a sense of profound peace that settled deep within him. He thought of the intricate trade routes, the delicate balance of supply and demand, the countless hands that had touched each piece of silk, each grain of spice. It was a complex web, yet it unfolded with a natural simplicity, guided by the ancient laws of commerce and connection. Lunch was a simple affair, a brief pause in the shade of a sparse rock formation, dried fruit, a piece of hard cheese, and a small flask of water. Each morsel was savored, each sip a moment of quiet gratitude. There was no excess, no indulgence, only the sustenance needed to continue the journey. This frugality, born of necessity, had instilled in Marco a deep appreciation for the simple things, a wisdom that transcended material wealth. After the meal, a brief respite, a moment to close his eyes and let the warmth of the sun seep into his bones. The body, accustomed to the demands of travel, found rest quickly, a brief surrender to the gentle embrace of sleep. The awakening was gradual, a slow return to the conscious rhythm of the caravan, a gentle re-entry into the flow of the day. The afternoon mirrored the morning, but with a softer light, a golden glow that began to paint the western sky. The shadows lengthened once more, stretching out like benevolent guardians across the sand. The caravan continued its unhurried progress, a long winding ribbon of life, moving across the vast, indifferent landscape. The destination for the night was another caravanserai, a beacon of shelter and respite. The thought of it was a comforting presence, a gentle anchor in the endless sea of sand. The anticipation was not one of excitement, but of quiet contentment, the promise of a temporary haven. The arrival was a familiar ritual. The camels were unburdened, their loads carefully stacked. Water was offered, and the animals drank deeply, their long necks arching gracefully. The merchants, their faces etched with the day's journey, moved with a quiet efficiency, preparing their evening meals, finding their accustomed spots. The courtyard of the caravanserai, once quiet, now buzzed with a low hum of activity, a symphony of human and animal sounds. Marco found his usual corner, unrolled his sleeping mat, and lit a small fire to warm his evening tea. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows on the ancient walls, creating a sense of timelessness. Dinner was a communal affair, a sharing of simple food and quiet conversation. Stories were exchanged, not with boisterous enthusiasm, but with a gentle cadence. Tales of the road, of distant markets, of encounters both mundane and memorable. These were the threads that bound them, the shared experiences that transformed strangers into temporary companions. Night descended swiftly, bringing with it the cool embrace of the desert air. The sky, a vast expanse of velvet black, was studded with countless stars, each one a tiny shimmering jewel. It was a sight that never failed to inspire a sense of awe, a reminder of the infinite scale of the cosmos and the humble place of humanity within it. Marco wrapped himself in his blanket, the dying embers of his fire casting a faint, reddish glow. The sounds of the caravanserai gradually faded, replaced by the deep silence of the night. Sleep came easily, a soft, welcoming embrace, and so, another day on the Silk Road drew to a close. A day composed of small gestures, slow progressions, moments of quiet observation, and the gentle rhythm of travel. A day that dissolved into the vast ocean of memory, leaving behind only the lingering sensation of a continuous journey, an existence that flowed without hurry, without drama, only with the reassuring cadence of time passing. Every breath was a step, every step a breath, in an infinite cycle of movement and rest. The sand beneath his mat was cool, the blanket warm, and the distant bleating of a camel was the final fading note of a day that closed, carrying with it the promise of a new, identical, peaceful tomorrow. The wind, a soft sigh, rustled through the cracks in the caravanserais walls, a sound that was almost a lullaby, an ancient whisper that spoke of vast distances and the slow, inexorable passage of time. Marco, enveloped in the warmth of his makeshift bed, felt his body yield to relaxation, every muscle unwinding, every trace of tension gently releasing its hold. The journey, though demanding, carried with it a profound sense of fulfillment, the quiet satisfaction of a task undertaken, a path steadily trod. His thoughts, now unhurried, began to soften and blur, like wisps of cloud dissolving into the boundless sky. The day's images intermingled, the faces of the merchants, the distinctive humps of the camels, the subtle shifts in the desert's hues, everything merged into a singular, indistinct recollection, a tapestry of sensations that required no interpretation, only a gentle acceptance. Sleep was not an escape, but a natural continuation of the day, another state of being, equally valid and imbued with its own quiet significance. His heartbeat slowed, his breathing deepened, becoming more regular, more profound. It was an ancient, primal rhythm, echoing the very pulse of the desert itself, the slow, deliberate turning of the seasons, the imperceptible dance of the stars above. There was nothing to fear, nothing to hasten, only the gentle current of time, the sweet surrender to the embrace of rest. The stars outside continued their silent vigil, indifferent to the slumber of humankind, silent witnesses to a world that perpetually turned, to a journey that in its essence knew no end. And in that profound silence, in that enveloping tranquility, Marco Polo, the tireless traveler, allowed himself to drift, another day on the Silk Road dissolving into the night, another dream beginning to unfurl, light and weightless, like the fine sand carried on the breath of the wind. This quiet drifting, this gentle surrender, was the true reward of his days, a profound peace earned through steady effort and patient observation. The world outside, with its vastness and its wonders, receded, replaced by the inner landscape of his own peaceful slumber. The journey continued, even in sleep, a seamless transition from waking contemplation to dreaming exploration. Each breath was a soft current, each beat of his heart a gentle wave, carrying him further into the tranquil depths of the night. The scent of distant spices, the faint echo of camel bells, the cool touch of the desert air, these sensory memories, now softened and diffused, became part of the dreamscape, weaving themselves into a narrative of profound calm. He was a part of this vast ancient world, a silent participant in its slow, unending story. And in this deep, unhurried peace, Marco found a quiet contentment, a sense of belonging that transcended any single destination. The road was his home, the journey his life, and the gentle rhythm of his breath was the only clock he needed. This was the essence of his existence, a continuous flow of being, moving ever onward, yet always at peace. The stars above, in their silent majesty, seemed to nod in agreement, their ancient light a soft blessing on his slumber. And as the night deepened, Marco Polo, the quiet observer, the patient traveler, drifted further into the embrace of sleep, his dreams filled with the gentle, unending whisper of the Silk Road. The world waited, but for now, there was only the profound, restorative peace of the present moment, a moment that stretched into eternity, soft and still. The distant call of a night bird, the almost imperceptible shift of the desert air, the faint rustle of his blanket, these were the final gentle sounds that accompanied him into the deepest reaches of his rest. He was a vessel of peace, sailing on the calm waters of sleep, his journey continuing in the quietude of his mind. And in this profound stillness, he found everything he sought, a quiet understanding of the world and his place within it. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its subtle beauty, was now a part of him, an indelible imprint on his soul. And with this gentle thought, he slept, a smile, perhaps, playing faintly on his lips, a traveler at peace, utterly and completely at peace with the world and with himself. The soft hum of the universe, a cosmic lullaby, cradled him, carrying him deeper into the boundless expanse of dreams. This was the true destination, the ultimate reward, the quiet, unending journey within. And as the night deepened, the stars shone brighter, silent witnesses to the profound peace of a man who had found his way, not to a place, but to a state of being. This was the essence of Marco Polo's day, a gentle unfolding, a quiet acceptance, a profound peace that settled over him like the softest desert sand. And with this, we too can let go, drifting into our own peaceful slumber, carried by the gentle echoes of his journey towards the quiet horizons of our own dreams. Good night. As the caravan continued its eastward journey, the landscape underwent another subtle transformation. The rolling hills gradually gave way to vast, flat plains where the horizon stretched endlessly in every direction, meeting the sky in a seamless, unbroken line. Here the air was often still, heavy with the scent of dry grass and the distant, almost imperceptible aroma of nomadic encampments. The sun, a constant companion, beat down with a steady, unwavering intensity, painting the world in shades of ochre and pale gold. Marco, astride his sturdy horse, found a new rhythm in this expansive environment. The gentle rocking motion of the animal, the soft padding of its hooves on the sun-baked earth, became a soothing, almost hypnotic pulse. His gaze often drifted across the plains, searching for the small details that broke the monotony. A lone shepherd, a flock of sheep grazing peacefully, the shimmering mirage of water in the distance. These were not dramatic sights, but rather quiet affirmations of life in a seemingly desolate land. He observed the nomadic tribes with a quiet fascination. Their tents, made of felt and animal hides, were perfectly adapted to the harsh environment, easily dismantled and reassembled as they followed their herds across the plains. Their faces, weathered by sun and wind, bore the marks of a life lived in close communion with nature. Marco spent hours listening to their stories, told around crackling fires under the vast, star-strewn sky. Tales of ancient migrations, of brave hunters, of spirits that dwelled in the mountains and rivers. These narratives, delivered in a slow, cadenced rhythm, were devoid of the dramatic flourishes of European epics, but possessed a profound, understated wisdom. He learned of their intricate social structures, their deep respect for elders, their practical knowledge of herbs and healing. He noted their simple yet effective tools, their methods of preserving food, their ingenious ways of finding water in arid lands. Every detail was meticulously recorded in his ever-present journal, a silent testament to the richness and diversity of human existence. The days were long, punctuated by the brief pauses for rest and sustenance. Lunch was often a handful of dried meat, a piece of flat bread, and a sip of fermented mare's milk, a staple of the nomadic diet. The taste was sharp, unfamiliar, yet invigorating. These simple meals, shared in silence or with quiet conversation, fostered a sense of camaraderie, a shared understanding of the journey's demands. Afternoons were spent in a state of gentle contemplation. The vastness of the plains seemed to encourage a quiet introspection. Marco's thoughts would drift, unhurried, across the expanse of his own memories. He recalled the bustling markets of Hormuz, the intricate carvings of the temples in Persia, the hushed reverence of the monasteries in Tibet. Each memory was a thread, weaving itself into the rich tapestry of his understanding. He pondered the interconnectedness of all things, how a single bolt of silk from China could travel thousands of miles to adorn a noble woman in Venice, how a simple spice from India could transform a meal in a distant land. It was a complex web, yet it operated with an underlying simplicity, a natural flow that mirrored the rivers and winds of the world. As the sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of deep orange and purple, the caravan would seek out a suitable spot for the night. Often it was near a small stream or a cluster of rocks that offered some protection from the wind. The setting up of camp was a practiced ritual, each person knowing their role, moving with a quiet efficiency that spoke of countless repetitions. Fires were lit, their smoke rising in thin columns against the darkening sky, carrying the scent of burning dung and cooking food. The air grew cooler, and the stars once again emerged in their countless multitudes, a glittering canopy above the sleeping world. Marco would sit by the fire, his journal open on his lap, the flickering light illuminating his careful script. He would write until his eyes grew heavy, until the words began to blur on the page. He wrote not with urgency, but with a steady, deliberate hand, capturing the essence of each day, each encounter, each subtle shift in the landscape. The sound of the crackling fire, the distant calls of night animals, the soft breathing of his companions, these were the gentle sounds that accompanied his nightly ritual. Sleep, when it came, was a deep and dreamless slumber, a complete surrender to the quiet embrace of the night. His body, tired from the day's journey, found profound rest, preparing itself for the identical, yet subtly different, day that awaited, and in that deep sleep, the Silk Road continued its silent journey, carrying him forward, even in repose. The vastness of the plains, the quiet dignity of the nomads, the endless sky, these elements merged into a soothing backdrop for his dreams, a gentle reminder of the profound peace he had found in the rhythm of travel. He was a part of this ancient land, a silent witness to its enduring story, and in that understanding, he found a quiet contentment that transcended all worldly desires. The gentle hum of the universe, a cosmic lullaby, cradled him, carrying him deeper into the boundless expanse of dreams. This was the true destination, the ultimate reward, the quiet, unending journey within. And as the night deepened, the stars shone brighter, silent witnesses to the profound peace of a man who had found his way, not to a place, but to a state of being. This was the essence of Marco Polo's day, a gentle unfolding, a quiet acceptance, a profound peace that settled over him like the softest desert sand. And with this, we too can let go, drifting into our own peaceful slumber, carried by the gentle echoes of his journey towards the quiet horizons of our own dreams. Good night. Marco's journey took him through lands of stark contrasts. From the endless plains, the caravan eventually ascended into the foothills of towering mountain ranges, their peaks often shrouded in mist or capped with eternal snow. The air grew thin and cold, carrying the crisp scent of pine and the distant echo of rushing water. The path became more challenging, winding precariously along cliff edges, sometimes carved directly into the rock face. The camels, usually so sure-footed, moved with an even greater caution, their bells now ringing with a more deliberate, less rhythmic chime. Marco, dismounting his horse, often walked alongside the caravan, feeling the bite of the wind on his face and the strain in his legs. Yet, in these moments of physical exertion, he found a profound sense of clarity. The sheer scale of the mountains, their ancient, unyielding presence, dwarfed all human concerns, instilling a quiet humility. He observed the mountain dwellers, their lives shaped by the harsh environment. They built their homes into the slopes, cultivated small terraced fields, and herded hardy goats that seemed to defy gravity. Their faces were etched with lines of toil and resilience, their eyes holding the quiet wisdom of those who live close to the earth. He learned of their unique customs, their intricate weaving patterns, their songs that echoed through the valleys. These were people who understood patience, who knew the value of every sunrise and every meager harvest. Their existence was a testament to endurance, a quiet affirmation of life's persistent flow. After weeks of slow ascent and descent, the caravan would emerge into fertile valleys, often cradling bustling towns and cities. These urban centers were a vibrant explosion of life after the quiet solitude of the mountains. The narrow streets teemed with merchants hawking their wares, artisans hammering metal, and children playing games with joyful shouts. The air was thick with the mingled aromas of cooking food, exotic spices, and the sweet scent of blooming flowers from hidden courtyards. Marco would spend his days in the markets, his senses overwhelmed by the sheer variety. He examined bolts of silk, shimmering with colors he had never seen, tasted sweet pastries filled with nuts and honey, and listened to the melodic chatter of a dozen different languages. He was particularly drawn to the workshops, watching with quiet fascination as skilled craftsmen transformed raw materials into objects of exquisite beauty, intricate jewelry, delicate ceramics, finely crafted leather goods. Each piece told a story of human ingenuity and dedication, a silent narrative of skill passed down through generations. In the evenings, he would often find a quiet corner in a tea house, sipping warm, fragrant tea and observing the ebb and flow of city life. The conversations around him were a constant source of information, snippets of news from distant lands, rumors of political intrigue, tales of love and loss. He absorbed it all, not with judgment, but with an insatiable curiosity, piecing together the fragments into a broader understanding of the world. His journal, now a thick volume, was filled with sketches of architectural details, notes on local flora and fauna, and careful descriptions of social customs. He wrote about the intricate irrigation systems that brought life to arid lands, the complex legal codes that govern trade, the diverse religious practices that coexisted, sometimes uneasily, within the same city walls. He noted the subtle differences in greetings, the nuances of hospitality, the unspoken rules that govern daily interactions. These observations, seemingly mundane, were in fact the very fabric of understanding, the quiet keys to unlocking the secrets of each new culture. Yet, even amidst the vibrant energy of the cities, Marco maintained his inner calm. He moved through the crowds with a quiet dignity, an observer rather than a participant, always seeking to understand rather than to judge. The clamor and bustle, though intense, never disturbed the serene core of his being. He had learned to find stillness within movement, to cultivate a sense of detached engagement that allowed him to absorb without being overwhelmed. The nights in these cities were a different kind of quiet than the desert. The distant sounds of music, the faint glow of lanterns, the murmur of voices from nearby homes, these created a gentle, ambient backdrop to his rest. He would often stand on a balcony, looking out over the sleeping city, the myriad lights twinkling like fallen stars, the vastness of the human world, with all its complexities and its quiet dramas, unfolded beneath him, a silent spectacle. Sleep, when it came, was a gentle descent into a world of dreams, often populated by the faces he had seen, the sounds he had heard, the tastes he had savored. Sometimes, the dreams were a kaleidoscope of colors and forms, a swirling tapestry of his day's experiences. Other times they were a quiet echo of Venice, a fleeting glimpse of familiar canals and ancient stone. These dreams were not disruptive, but rather a continuation of his waking observations, a processing of the endless stream of information that flowed into his mind. They were a gentle reminder of his origins, a soft anchor in the vast ocean of his travels. And so, the journey continued, a seamless blend of physical movement and intellectual exploration. Each mountain pass, each bustling city, each quiet village added another layer to his understanding, another stroke to the masterpiece of his life. He was not merely traveling across a map. He was traveling through the very essence of human experience, collecting fragments of wisdom, weaving them into a coherent whole. The Silk Road was not just a route for goods, it was a pathway for ideas, for cultures, for the quiet, persistent exchange of humanity. And Marco, the patient observer, the tireless chronicler, was its most devoted student. His existence was a testament to the power of gentle curiosity, the profound reward of simply being present, of watching, listening, and understanding. The world, in all its intricate, quiet glory, unfolded before him, and he, with a serene heart, embraced every moment. This was his purpose, his quiet joy, his unending journey, and as the night deepened, the stars above seemed to hum a silent tune, a cosmic lullaby for the tireless traveler, inviting him into the deep, restorative peace of sleep, where the journey continued, boundless and serene. Good night. Marco's travels, under the patronage of Kublai Khan, were not merely journeys of exploration, but also of quiet administration. He was often tasked with observing the efficiency of the imperial postal system, a network of relay stations and swift riders that spanned the vast empire. He would spend days at these stations noting the meticulous record-keeping, the well-fed horses, the disciplined riders who, with a pouch of dispatches, would vanish into the horizon, only to be replaced by another, equally swift, coming from the opposite direction. The rhythmic thud of hooves, the jingle of harness bells, the brief, efficient exchanges of messages, these were the subtle sounds that underscored the immense power and organization of the Khan's dominion. He observed the intricate details of the system, the fresh water wells, the fodder for the horses, the small quiet inns where riders could rest for a few hours before continuing their relentless pace. It was a marvel of logistics, a testament to the Khan's ability to connect his far-flung territories. Marco, ever the meticulous chronicler, documented the distances between stations, the average speed of the riders, the types of messages carried. These were not thrilling tales of adventure, but rather the quiet, factual observations that built a comprehensive understanding of the empire's infrastructure. He noted the subtle variations in the architecture of the stations, the different dialects spoken by the station masters, the local customs that had been subtly integrated into the imperial system. Each detail, however small, contributed to the larger picture, a mosaic of efficiency and adaptation. The days spent at these stations were often quiet, punctuated only by the arrival and departure of riders. Marco would sit in the shade, his journal open, sketching the layout of a station, or perhaps a particularly interesting piece of horse tack. The silence was often broken by the gentle whinny of a horse, the distant bark of a dog, or the soft murmur of conversation from the kitchen. These were the mundane sounds of a well-oiled machine, operating with a quiet, almost imperceptible hum. He also spent time observing the agricultural practices in the various regions. In the fertile river valleys, he saw farmers tending to their rice paddies, their movements slow and deliberate, their reflections shimmering in the still water, the rhythmic splash of water wheels, the soft rustle of growing crops, the distant calls of birds. These were the sounds of a life deeply connected to the earth. He noted the ingenious irrigation systems, the careful rotation of crops, the communal efforts involved in planting and harvesting, the sheer dedication and patience of the farmers. Their unwavering commitment to the land left a lasting impression on him. In drier regions, he observed the cultivation of millet and wheat, the fields stretching out like golden carpets under the relentless sun, the creak of wooden plows, the lowing of oxen, the gentle sigh of the wind through the ripening grain. These were the sounds of sustenance, of life coaxed from a challenging environment. He documented the different types of grains, the methods of threshing and milling, the ways in which communities stored their harvests to guard against lean times. These were not the glamorous aspects of empire, but they were the foundational elements, the quiet work that sustained millions. His journeys also led him to observe the various industries that flourished under the Khan's rule. In one region, he visited vast salt mines, where men toiled silently, chipping away at the gleaming white deposits. The rhythmic clang of picks against rock, the muffled shouts of the workers, the pervasive dry scent of salt. These were the sensory details of a vital industry. He noted the methods of extraction, the transportation of the salt, its importance in trade and preservation. In another, he witnessed the production of paper, a process that fascinated him with its delicate precision. The soft swish of pulp in water, the gentle pressing of sheets, the careful drying in the sun. These were the quiet, almost meditative sounds of craftsmanship. He documented the different types of paper, its uses in official documents and scholarly texts, its role in disseminating knowledge across the empire. These observations, though seemingly dry, were crucial for the Khan, providing him with a comprehensive understanding of his empire's resources and capabilities. Marco approached each task with the same calm demeanor, the same meticulous attention to detail. He understood that true knowledge lay not in grand pronouncements, but in the accumulation of small, precise observations. His mind was a vast ledger, meticulously recording every input, every nuance. The days often ended with him returning to his quarters, the sounds of the court fading into the background. He would light his lamp, the soft glow illuminating his workspace, and begin the quiet ritual of transferring his day's observations into his journal. The scratch of his quill on parchment, the rustle of pages, the occasional sigh as he paused to formulate a thought. These were the sounds of his evening. He wrote not with urgency, but with a steady, deliberate hand, ensuring that every detail was captured with accuracy and clarity. The process itself was a form of meditation, a way to consolidate the day's experiences, to weave them into the larger narrative of his understanding. The night outside would be filled with the distant sounds of the city, a low hum that was a testament to the continuous pulse of life. But within his chambers, there was only the quiet focus of his work, the steady rhythm of his thoughts. Sleep, when it finally arrived, was a welcome release, a gentle descent into a world where the day's observations could be processed and integrated. His dreams were often a continuation of his waking thoughts, a silent replaying of the scenes he had witnessed, the conversations he had heard. They were not vivid or dramatic, but rather a soft flowing current of images and sensations, a gentle stream that carried him deeper into rest. And in that rest he found a quiet strength, a renewed sense of purpose for the days that lay ahead. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its intricate details, continued to unfold before him, a never-ending story of human endeavor and natural beauty. And Marco, the patient observer, the tireless chronicler, was its most devoted student, ever ready to listen, to learn, and to record. His journey was a testament to the power of quiet persistence, the profound reward of simply being present, of watching, listening, and understanding. The world, in all its intricate, quiet glory, unfolded before him, and he, with a serene heart, embraced every moment. This was his purpose, his quiet joy, his unending journey. And as the night deepened, the stars above seemed to hum a silent tune, a cosmic lullaby for the tireless traveler, inviting him into the deep, restorative peace of sleep, where the journey continued, boundless and serene. Good night. Marco's duties as an emissary often led him to observe the daily lives of the various peoples within the vast Mongol Empire. He spent time in bustling market towns, where the air was thick with the scent of roasting meats, exotic spices, and the sweet perfume of blooming jasmine. The cacophony of sounds, the haggling of merchants, the cries of street vendors, the laughter of children, the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer, created a vibrant, continuous hum that was both exhilarating and strangely soothing. He watched with quiet fascination as women, their faces veiled or adorned with intricate jewelry, moved gracefully through the crowds, carrying baskets laden with fresh produce or finely woven textiles. He noted the different styles of dress, the subtle variations in their head coverings, the way they interacted with each other and with the foreign merchants. Each gesture, each glance, was a small piece of a larger cultural puzzle that he meticulously assembled in his mind. In the workshops he observed artisans at their craft. He saw potters, their hands stained with clay, shaping delicate vessels on spinning wheels, their movements fluid and practiced. The soft whirring of the wheel, the gentle pressure of their fingers, the slow transformation of raw earth into an object of beauty. These were the quiet miracles of human skill. He watched weavers, their fingers flying across intricate looms, creating patterns of breathtaking complexity. The rhythmic click-clack of the shuttle, the tautness of the threads, the gradual emergence of a design from a tangle of fibers. It was a testament to patience and artistry. He also spent time in the quieter, more contemplative spaces. He visited Buddhist monasteries nestled in serene mountain valleys, where the only sounds were the chanting of monks, the gentle ringing of bells, and the rustle of prayer flags in the wind. The air here was cool and clean, imbued with the scent of incense and ancient wood. He observed the monks in their daily rituals, their faces serene, their movements deliberate and unhurried. He learned of their philosophy, their pursuit of inner peace, their belief in the interconnectedness of all living things. These were concepts that resonated deeply with his own experiences of the vastness and unity of the world. In the agricultural heartlands, he witnessed the cyclical rhythm of life tied to the seasons. He saw farmers tilling their fields with simple wooden plows, guided by oxen with slow, steady steps. The rich, earthy smell of freshly turned soil, the distant calls of birds, the gentle murmur of irrigation channels, these were the sounds of sustenance, of life being nurtured from the land. He noted the different crops grown, the ingenious methods of water management, the communal spirit that bound these communities together, the shared labor, the collective hope for a good harvest, the simple joys of a meal shared after a long day in the fields. These were the enduring patterns of human existence, repeated across countless generations. Marco's observations were never hurried or intrusive. He approached each new culture, each new experience, with a respectful curiosity, allowing the details to unfold before him at their own pace. He understood that true understanding came not from imposing his own perspectives, but from patiently absorbing the nuances of another's. His journal, a constant companion, became a repository of these quiet observations. He sketched the distinctive architecture of a pagoda, the intricate embroidery on a ceremonial robe, the unique shape of a farming tool. He recorded the melodies of folk songs, the ingredients of local dishes, the proverbs and sayings that encapsulated a people's wisdom. These were not the grand narratives of conquest or political upheaval, but the subtle, everyday textures of life that truly defined a civilization. The evenings often found him in quiet reflection, perhaps sitting by a window overlooking a moonlit garden, or by a crackling fire in a humble inn. The day's impressions would gently swirl in his mind, like leaves carried on a slow current. He would sort through them, categorize them, and then, with a practiced hand, commit them to parchment. The soft scratch of his quill, the faint scent of ink, the rustle of the pages, these were the soothing sounds of his nightly ritual. He wrote not to impress, but to preserve, to create a lasting record of the world as he saw it, through his own calm and discerning eyes. Sleep, when it finally arrived, was a welcome release, a gentle descent into a world where the day's myriad details could be processed and integrated. His dreams were often a continuation of his waking observations, a silent replaying of the scenes he had witnessed, the conversations he had heard. They were not vivid or dramatic, but rather a soft, flowing current of images and sensations, a gentle stream that carried him deeper into rest. And in that rest he found a quiet strength, a renewed sense of purpose for the days that lay ahead. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its intricate details, continued to unfold before him, a never-ending story of human endeavor and natural beauty. And Marco, the patient observer, the tireless chronicler, was its most devoted student, ever ready to listen, to learn, and to record. His journey was a testament to the power of quiet persistence, the profound reward of simply being present, of watching, listening, and understanding. The world in all its intricate, quiet glory unfolded before him, and he, with a serene heart, embraced every moment. This was his purpose, his quiet joy, his unending journey. And as the night deepened, the stars above seemed to hum a silent tune, a cosmic lullaby for the tireless traveler, inviting him into the deep restorative peace of sleep, where the journey continued, boundless and serene. Good night. One particular stretch of Marco's journey took him through the vast, arid expanse of the Taklamakan Desert, a place whose very name whispered of abandonment and desolation. Here the sun was a relentless eye in a sky of bleached blue, and the wind, when it came, was a dry, searing breath that sculpted the dunes into ever-shifting patterns. The caravan moved with an even greater solemnity, the silence broken only by the soft crunch of sand beneath hooves and the occasional mournful cry of a camel. The air was thick with fine reddish dust that coated everything, blurring the distinction between earth and sky. Marco, his face wrapped in a cloth to protect against the sun and sand, found a strange, almost meditative beauty in this harsh environment. The endless, undulating waves of sand, the subtle shifts in color from pale gold to deep ochre, the stark, sculptural forms of the dunes. These were not sights to excite, but to absorb, to contemplate in quiet awe. He noted the way the light played on the sand, creating illusions of water and distant cities, mirages that shimmered and then dissolved as they approached. These optical tricks were a constant gentle reminder of the deceptive nature of appearances, a lesson in patience and careful observation. The days were long, each hour stretching into an eternity under the unblinking gaze of the sun. The rhythm of travel became even more pronounced here, a slow, deliberate progression that seemed to defy the very concept of time. Marco would often close his eyes, letting the gentle sway of his horse and the monotonous sounds of the caravan lull him into a state of semi-consciousness, a waking dream where thoughts drifted like the desert sand. He observed the resilience of his companions, their quiet endurance in the face of such overwhelming emptiness. They spoke little, conserving their energy, their eyes scanning the horizon for the faint signs of an oasis, a cluster of date palms, a glimmer of water. Their movements were economical, their actions precise, born of generations of survival in this unforgiving land. He learned from them the subtle art of reading the desert, the faint tracks of animals that might lead to water, the direction of the wind that foretold a sandstorm, the particular shade of blue in the sky that indicated the presence of a distant well. These were not skills taught in Venetian schools, but a profound, intuitive knowledge passed down through whispered traditions. Lunch was a brief, almost ritualistic affair. A small portion of dried meat, a few dates, and a carefully measured sip of water from a leather flask. Each item was consumed with a quiet reverence, a deep appreciation for its life-sustaining properties. There was no conversation, no laughter, only the soft sounds of chewing and swallowing, a collective act of survival. After the meal, a short rest in the meager shade of a camel, or beneath a hastily erected canvas. The heat was intense, but the dry air made it bearable, a pervasive warmth that seeped into the bones, inviting a deep, restorative stillness. Marco would often drift into a light slumber, his dreams filled with the gentle whisper of the wind and the endless expanse of the sky. The afternoons were a continuation of the morning's slow march. The sun began its gradual descent, casting longer, softer shadows that stretched across the dunes like elongated fingers. The colors of the desert deepened, transforming from pale gold to rich amber, then to a fiery orange as the sun kissed the horizon. It was a spectacle of quiet grandeur, a daily masterpiece painted by the hand of nature. As dusk settled, the air cooled rapidly, and the first stars began to prick the darkening sky. The caravan would make camp, a small cluster of life in the immense void. Fires were lit, their flames dancing merrily, casting flickering light on the weary faces of the travelers. The scent of burning camel dung, a familiar and comforting aroma, mingled with the faint smell of cooking food. Dinner was a simple stew, often made with dried vegetables and a small amount of meat, simmered over a low fire. The conversation was hushed, punctuated by long silences, as each man reflected on the day's journey, on the vastness of the world, and on their own small place within it. Marco would sit by the fire, his journal open, the flickering light illuminating his careful script. He wrote about the subtle beauty of the desert, the resilience of its inhabitants, the profound sense of peace that could be found in its emptiness. He described the way the stars seemed to hang lower here, brighter and more numerous than he had ever seen, a celestial map guiding their silent progress. The scratch of his quill, the soft crackle of the fire, the distant howl of a desert fox, these were the sounds that accompanied his nightly ritual of reflection. Sleep, when it finally arrived, was a deep enveloping darkness, a complete surrender to the quiet embrace of the desert night. His dreams were often filled with the endless expanse of sand, the rhythmic sway of the camels, the silent majesty of the stars. They were not dreams of excitement or adventure, but of profound tranquility, a gentle continuation of his waking contemplation. And in that deep, unhurried peace, Marco found a quiet contentment, a sense of belonging that transcended any single destination. The desert, with its harsh beauty and its profound silence, had become a teacher, imparting lessons of patience, endurance, and the subtle wisdom of the natural world. The journey continued, even in sleep, a seamless transition from waking observation to dreaming exploration. Each breath was a soft current, each beat of his heart a gentle wave, carrying him further into the tranquil depths of the night. The scent of distant spices, the faint echo of camel bells, the cool touch of the desert air, these sensory memories, now softened and diffused, became part of the dreamscape, weaving themselves into a narrative of profound calm. He was a part of this vast, ancient world, a silent participant in its slow, unending story. And in this deep, unhurried peace, Marco found a quiet contentment, a sense of belonging that transcended any single destination. The road was his home, the journey his life, and the gentle rhythm of his breath was the only clock he needed. This was the essence of his existence, a continuous flow of being, moving ever onward, yet always at peace. The stars above, in their silent majesty, seemed to nod in agreement, their ancient light a soft blessing on his slumber. And as the night deepened, Marco Polo, the quiet observer, the patient traveler, drifted further into the embrace of sleep, his dreams filled with the gentle, unending whisper of the Silk Road. The world waited, but for now there was only the profound restorative peace of the present moment, a moment that stretched into eternity, soft and still. The distant call of a night bird, the almost imperceptible shift of the desert air, the faint rustle of his blanket, these were the final, gentle sounds that accompanied him into the deepest reaches of his rest. He was a vessel of peace, sailing on the calm waters of sleep, his journey continuing in the quietude of his mind. And in this profound stillness, he found everything he sought, a quiet understanding of the world and his place within it. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its subtle beauty, was now a part of him, an indelible imprint on his soul. And with this gentle thought, he slept, a smile, perhaps, playing faintly on his lips, a traveler at peace, utterly and completely at peace, with the world and with himself. The soft hum of the universe, a cosmic lullaby, cradled him, carrying him deeper into the boundless expanse of dreams. This was the true destination, the ultimate reward, the quiet, unending journey within. And as the night deepened, the stars shone brighter, silent witnesses to the profound peace of a man who had found his way, not to a place, but to a state of being. This was the essence of Marco Polo's day, a gentle unfolding, a quiet acceptance, a profound peace that settled over him like the softest desert sand. And with this, we too can let go, drifting into our own peaceful slumber, carried by the gentle echoes of his journey towards the quiet horizons of our own dreams. Good night. As Marco Polo continued his extensive travels under the auspices of Kublai Khan, his journeys often led him to the bustling trading posts that dotted the Silk Road. These were not merely places of commerce, but vibrant crossroads where cultures converged, languages mingled, and the pulse of the vast empire could be felt most keenly. The air in these posts was a rich tapestry of scents. The earthy aroma of freshly ground spices, the sweet fragrance of dried fruits, the pungent tang of animal hides, and the subtle metallic scent of newly minted coins. The sounds were equally diverse. The rhythmic clatter of looms, the distant hammering of blacksmiths, the lowing of cattle, the chatter of merchants haggling over prices, and the occasional melodious call of a prayer from a nearby mosque. Marco, ever the keen observer, would spend hours in these markets, his eyes taking in every detail. He watched the careful unwrapping of silk bales, the meticulous inspection of precious stones, the weighing of fragrant herbs. He noted the different currencies exchanged, the various forms of measurement, and the subtle gestures that conveyed agreement or disagreement in a myriad of languages. He was particularly fascinated by the sheer variety of goods: exquisite porcelain from China, vibrant dyes from India, finely crafted metalwork from Persia, and sturdy woolen cloths from the nomadic tribes of the steppes. Each item had its own story, a journey that mirrored his own, a testament to the interconnectedness of the world. He engaged in quiet conversations with the local traders, learning about their families, their traditions, their hopes and fears. He discovered that despite the vast distances and cultural differences, there was a common thread of humanity that bound them all: the desire for security, for prosperity, for a peaceful life. These were not dramatic revelations, but rather quiet affirmations of a shared human experience. His journal, now a weighty tome, was filled with detailed descriptions of these trading posts. He sketched the architectural styles of the buildings, noting the blend of local traditions with imperial influences. He recorded the types of goods most commonly traded, the prevailing prices, and the routes by which they arrived and departed. He even made careful notes on the local cuisine, describing the ingredients and preparation methods of dishes he sampled, often with a quiet appreciation for their unique flavors. The evenings in these trading posts were often a time of quiet reflection. After the day's bustle subsided, Marco would find a secluded spot, perhaps on a rooftop overlooking the market square, or in a quiet courtyard beneath a fig tree. The sounds of the day would gradually fade, replaced by the gentle hum of the night, the distant barking of dogs, the soft strumming of a lute, the murmur of voices from nearby homes. He would sit for hours, contemplating the vast network of trade and human interaction that stretched across the continent. He thought of the countless individuals, each playing their small part, contributing to the grand flow of goods and ideas. It was a system of immense complexity, yet it operated with a natural, almost organic rhythm, a testament to the enduring human spirit of enterprise. His thoughts would often drift to Venice, to the familiar sounds of the Grand Canal, the scent of the sea, the faces of his family. These memories were like distant stars, always present, always a gentle guide, but never pulling him away from the present moment. He had learned to live fully in the now, to embrace each experience with an open heart and a curious mind. Sleep, when it finally arrived, was a deep and restorative slumber, a gentle descent into a world where the day's observations could be processed and integrated. His dreams were often a continuation of his waking thoughts, a silent replaying of the scenes he had witnessed, the conversations he had heard. They were not vivid or dramatic, but rather a soft, flowing current of images and sensations, a gentle stream that carried him deeper into rest. And in that rest, he found a quiet strength, a renewed sense of purpose for the days that lay ahead. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its intricate details, continued to unfold before him, a never-ending story of human endeavor and natural beauty. And Marco, the patient observer, the tireless chronicler, was its most devoted student, ever ready to listen, to learn, and to record. His journey was a testament to the power of quiet persistence, the profound reward of simply being present, of watching, listening, and understanding. The world in all its intricate, quiet glory unfolded before him, and he, with a serene heart, embraced every moment. This was his purpose, his quiet joy, his unending journey. And as the night deepened, the stars above seemed to hum a silent tune, a cosmic lullaby for the tireless traveler, inviting him into the deep, restorative peace of sleep, where the journey continued, boundless and serene. Good night. Beyond the bustling trading posts, Marco's journeys often led him into the quieter, more remote corners of the empire, places where the rhythm of life was dictated not by commerce, but by the ancient cycles of nature. He spent time in small, isolated villages nestled in fertile river deltas, where the primary occupation was fishing. The air here was perpetually damp, carrying the briny scent of the river and the faint, sweet smell of water lilies. The sounds were gentle, the soft lapping of water against the banks, the distant call of a heron, the rhythmic creak of fishing nets being cast and drawn in. He observed the fishermen, their movements slow and deliberate, their faces weathered by sun and water. They worked with a quiet efficiency, their hands skilled in mending nets, baiting hooks, and navigating their small flat-bottomed boats through the reedy channels. Marco noted the different types of fish caught, the methods of preservation, salting, smoking, drying, and the simple yet effective tools they used. He learned of their superstitions, their prayers to the river spirits, their deep respect for the bounty of the waters. Their lives were a testament to patience, a quiet acceptance of the ebb and flow of the natural world. In these villages, the evenings were particularly serene. After the day's work, families would gather around small fires, sharing simple meals of fish and rice. The conversations were hushed, often punctuated by long silences, as they watched the moon rise over the river, its light shimmering on the dark water. Marco would sit among them, a silent guest, absorbing the quiet camaraderie, the unspoken bonds that held these communities together. He found a profound peace in these moments, a sense of belonging that transcended language and custom. His journal, ever present, would capture these quiet scenes. He sketched the unique designs of their fishing boats, the intricate patterns of their nets, the serene expressions on the faces of the villagers. He recorded the local names for fish and plants, the traditional songs sung during harvest, the simple proverbs that guided their lives. These were not the grand narratives of imperial power, but the subtle, everyday textures of life that truly defined the vastness and diversity of the Khan's domains. He also ventured into regions known for their ancient forests, where towering trees formed a dense canopy that filtered the sunlight into dappled patterns on the forest floor. The air here was cool and damp, rich with the scent of decaying leaves and damp earth. The sounds were muted, the rustle of unseen creatures in the undergrowth, the gentle drip of water from leaves, the distant call of a forest bird. The paths were often overgrown, winding through thickets of ferns and moss-covered rocks, requiring careful navigation. Marco, on foot, moved with a quiet reverence through these ancient woods. He observed the incredible variety of plant life, the delicate fungi clinging to fallen logs, the vibrant colors of wild berries. He noted the different types of trees, their leaves, their bark, their unique characteristics. He learned from local guides about the medicinal properties of various plants, the habits of forest animals, the subtle signs that indicated the presence of water or safe passage. These were lessons in humility, a reminder of the intricate balance of nature and the profound wisdom embedded within it. In these forest regions, he often encountered small communities of woodcutters or hunters, their lives intimately connected to the rhythms of the forest. Their homes were simple, built from timber and thatch, blending seamlessly into the natural environment. Their tools were basic yet effective, crafted with a deep understanding of the materials they worked with. Marco observed their quiet skill in felling trees, in tracking game, in preparing hides. He noted their respect for the forest, their understanding of its resources, their sustainable practices that ensured its continued bounty. The evenings in the forest were filled with a different kind of quiet, the crackle of a campfire, the soft hoot of an owl, the gentle murmur of conversation. These sounds created a sense of intimacy and warmth against the vast, dark expanse of the woods. Marco would sit by the fire, his journal open, recording his observations of the forest, its inhabitants, and the quiet wisdom he gleaned from them. He wrote about the feeling of being enveloped by the ancient trees, the sense of timelessness that pervaded these deep woods. He pondered the interconnectedness of all life, how every creature, every plant, played a vital role in the grand design. Sleep, when it came, was a deep, earthy slumber, a complete surrender to the quiet embrace of the forest night. His dreams were often filled with the rustle of leaves, the scent of damp earth, the silent presence of ancient trees. They were not dreams of excitement or adventure, but of profound tranquility, a gentle continuation of his waking contemplation. And in that deep, unhurried peace, Marco found a quiet contentment, a sense of belonging that transcended any single destination. The forest, with its hidden beauty and its profound silence, had become a teacher, imparting lessons of patience, reverence, and the subtle wisdom of the natural world. The journey continued even in sleep, a seamless transition from waking observation to dreaming exploration. Each breath was a soft current, each beat of his heart a gentle wave, carrying him further into the tranquil depths of the night. The scent of distant spices, the faint echo of camel bells, the cool touch of the desert air, these sensory memories, now softened and diffused, became part of the dreamscape, weaving themselves into a narrative of profound calm. He was a part of this vast, ancient world, a silent participant in its slow, unending story, and in this deep, unhurried peace, Marco found a quiet contentment, a sense of belonging that transcended any single destination. The road was his home, the journey his life, and the gentle rhythm of his breath was the only clock he needed. This was the essence of his existence, a continuous flow of being, moving ever onward, yet always at peace. The stars above, in their silent majesty, seemed to nod in agreement, their ancient light a soft blessing on his slumber. And as the night deepened, Marco Polo, the quiet observer, the patient traveler, drifted further into the embrace of sleep, his dreams filled with the gentle, unending whisper of the Silk Road. The world waited, but for now, there was only the profound, restorative peace of the present moment, a moment that stretched into eternity, soft and still. The distant call of a night bird, the almost imperceptible shift of the desert air, the faint rustle of his blanket, these were the final gentle sounds that accompanied him into the deepest reaches of his rest. He was a vessel of peace, sailing on the calm waters of sleep, his journey continuing in the quietude of his mind. And in this profound stillness, he found everything he sought, a quiet understanding of the world and his place within it. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its subtle beauty, was now a part of him, an indelible imprint on his soul. And with this gentle thought, he slept, a smile, perhaps playing faintly on his lips, a traveler at peace, utterly and completely at peace, with the world and with himself. The soft hum of the universe, a cosmic lullaby, cradled him, carrying him deeper into the boundless expanse of dreams. This was the true destination, the ultimate reward, the quiet, unending journey within. And as the night deepened, the stars shone brighter, silent witnesses to the profound peace of a man who had found his way, not to a place, but to a state of being. This was the essence of Marco Polo's day, a gentle unfolding, a quiet acceptance, a profound peace that settled over him like the softest desert sand. And with this, we too can let go, drifting into our own peaceful slumber, carried by the gentle echoes of his journey towards the quiet horizons of our own dreams. Good night. Among the many wonders Marco encountered, the sheer ingenuity of the various peoples in adapting to their environments was a constant source of quiet admiration. In the northern reaches of the empire, where winters were long and harsh, he observed communities that lived in dwellings partially dug into the earth, their roofs covered with sod to provide insulation against the biting cold. The interior of these homes, though simple, were surprisingly warm and cozy, filled with the earthy scent of burning peat and the gentle murmur of family life. He noted the intricate patterns of their winter clothing, fashioned from animal furs and thick wool, designed not for fashion but for survival. The rhythmic thud of an axe splitting firewood, the soft crackle of a hearth fire, the hushed voices of storytellers recounting ancient legends. These were the sounds that filled the long, dark evenings. He learned of their methods for preserving food through the long winter months, their reliance on hunting and trapping, and their deep reverence for the animals that sustained them. Their lives were a testament to human resilience, a quiet defiance against the forces of nature. Further south, in regions blessed with abundant sunshine and fertile soil, Marco witnessed the cultivation of cotton. He watched with quiet fascination as fields of white, fluffy bolls stretched to the horizon, shimmering under the warm sun. The gentle rustle of the cotton plants in the breeze, the soft hum of insects, the rhythmic plucking of the bolls by diligent hands, these were the sounds of prosperity and industry. He observed the entire process, from the harvesting of the cotton to its transformation into thread and then into fabric. He saw women spinning the fibers on simple hand spindles, their fingers moving with practiced grace, and weavers working at their looms, creating lightweight, breathable cloths that were prized throughout the empire. The vibrant colors of the dyed fabrics, hung out to dry in the sun, created a kaleidoscope of hues that brightened the landscape. He noted the different qualities of cotton, the various weaving techniques, and the economic importance of this crop to the local communities. These observations, meticulously recorded, provided the Khan with invaluable insights into the agricultural and industrial capabilities of his vast domains. Marco's role often involved assessing the resources of these regions, not with the intent of exploitation, but with a view to understanding the empire's strengths and potential. He approached these tasks with his characteristic calm and thoroughness, ensuring that his reports were accurate and comprehensive. He understood that the prosperity of the empire rested on the well-being of its diverse peoples, and that a true ruler needed to understand the intricate details of their lives. His journal, now a testament, years of dedicated observation, contained not only geographical and economic data, but also a wealth of ethnographic detail. He recorded the unique musical instruments of each region, the styles of dance, the traditional ceremonies that marked births, marriages, and deaths. He noted the different forms of hospitality, the subtle gestures of respect, the ways in which communities resolved disputes. These were the threads that wove together the rich tapestry of human experience. And Marco, with his quiet empathy, sought to understand each one. The evenings, regardless of the region, often brought a sense of quiet reflection. Whether sitting by a roaring fire in a northern dwelling or beneath a star-filled sky in a southern village, Marco would find a moment of solitude. He would review the day's events in his mind, sorting through the myriad impressions, distilling them into coherent thoughts. The gentle sounds of the night, the distant howl of a wolf, the chirping of crickets, the soft murmur of a nearby stream, provided a soothing backdrop to his contemplation. He would then open his journal, the familiar weight of it in his hands, and begin to write. The soft scratch of his quill on the parchment, the faint scent of ink, the rhythmic movement of his hand, these were the comforting rituals that marked the end of each day. He wrote not with passion or drama, but with a steady, measured hand, ensuring that every detail was captured with precision and clarity. His goal was not to entertain, but to inform, to create a factual record that would serve the Khan and, perhaps, future generations. Sleep, when it finally arrived, was a deep, unburdened slumber, a gentle descent into a world where the day's observations could be processed and integrated. His dreams were often a continuation of his waking thoughts, a silent replaying of the scenes he had witnessed, the conversations he had heard. They were not vivid or dramatic, but rather a soft, flowing current of images and sensations, a gentle stream that carried him deeper into rest. And in that rest, he found a quiet strength, a renewed sense of purpose for the days that lay ahead. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its intricate details, continued to unfold before him, a never-ending story of human endeavor and natural beauty. And Marco, the patient observer, the tireless chronicler, was its most devoted student, ever ready to listen, to learn, and to record. His journey was a testament to the power of quiet persistence, the profound reward of simply being present, of watching, listening, and understanding. The world in all its intricate, quiet glory unfolded before him, and he, with a serene heart, embraced every moment. This was his purpose, his quiet joy, his unending journey. And as the night deepened, the stars above seemed to hum a silent tune, a cosmic lullaby for the tireless traveler, inviting him into the deep restorative peace of sleep, where the journey continued, boundless and serene. Good night. Marco's assignments for Kublai Khan were varied, often taking him to regions rich in specific resources. One such journey led him to the vast salt flats, shimmering under the sun like an endless sheet of ice. The air here was heavy with the sharp, clean scent of salt, and the ground crunched underfoot with crystalline deposits. The silence was profound, broken only by the distant rhythmic chipping of tools and the occasional almost musical creak of wooden carts laden with the precious mineral. He observed the salt gatherers, their bodies tanned and hardened by the sun, their movements slow and deliberate as they harvested the gleaming white crystals. Their faces, often streaked with salt, bore expressions of quiet concentration. He noted the simple yet effective tools they used, the methods of separating the salt from the earth, and the careful way it was piled into mounds, awaiting transport. The sheer scale of the operation, the vastness of the salt flats, and the tireless labor of the workers filled him with a quiet respect for the fundamental necessities of life. Salt, he understood, was not merely a commodity. It was a preserver, a flavor enhancer, a vital element in the sustenance of the empire. His journal entries from this region were filled with precise measurements of the salt deposits, descriptions of the extraction techniques, and reflections on the economic importance of this seemingly simple mineral. He also documented the lives of the workers, their communal living arrangements, their songs sung to ward off the monotony of their labor. These were not heroic tales, but rather the quiet narratives of human industry and perseverance. Another mission took him to the bustling centers of porcelain production. Here the air was filled with the delicate earthy scent of clay and the subtle aroma of wood smoke from the kilns. The sounds were a gentle symphony of craftsmanship, the soft whirring of potters' wheels, the gentle tap-tap of brushes on delicate surfaces, the hushed voices of artisans discussing their work. He watched with mesmerized attention as skilled craftsmen transformed lumps of raw clay into objects of breathtaking beauty and utility. He observed the intricate process of shaping, glazing, and firing, noting the subtle variations in technique that produce different qualities of porcelain. The delicate blue and white patterns, the translucent glazes, the perfect symmetry of the finished pieces. These were testaments to generations of accumulated skill and artistic dedication. Marco spent hours in the workshops, sketching the designs, documenting the types of clay used, and inquiring about the secret formulas for the glazes. He learned of the long apprenticeships, the patience required to master the craft, and the pride the artisans took in their work. His journal became a detailed record of this ancient art, a quiet tribute to the human capacity for creation. The evenings in these industrial towns were often a blend of quiet contemplation and gentle social interaction. After the day's work, Marco would often join the local merchants or artisans for a simple meal, sharing stories and observations. The conversations were rarely boisterous, but rather a steady exchange of information, punctuated by comfortable silences. He found that even in these seemingly mundane settings, there was a wealth of wisdom to be gleaned, a deeper understanding of the human condition. He would then retire to his lodgings, often a modest room above a workshop, and begin his nightly ritual of writing. The soft glow of his oil lamp would illuminate the parchment as his quill moved steadily across the page. He wrote not with urgency, but with a deliberate, almost meditative pace, ensuring that every detail, every nuance, was faithfully recorded. The faint sounds of the town settling down for the night, a distant dog bark, the soft murmur of voices, the gentle creak of a wooden shutter, provided a soothing backdrop to his work. Sleep, when it finally arrived, was a deep, unburdened slumber, a gentle descent into a world where the day's observations could be processed and integrated. His dreams were often a continuation of his waking thoughts, a silent replaying of the scenes he had witnessed, the conversations he had heard. They were not vivid or dramatic, but rather a soft, flowing current of images and sensations, a gentle stream that carried him deeper into rest. And in that rest, he found a quiet strength, a renewed sense of purpose for the days that lay ahead. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its intricate details, continued to unfold before him, a never-ending story of human endeavor and natural beauty. And Marco, the patient observer, the tireless chronicler, was its most devoted student, ever ready to listen, to learn, and to record. His journey was a testament to the power of quiet persistence, the profound reward of simply being present, of watching, listening, and understanding. The world, in all its intricate, quiet glory, unfolded before him, and he, with a serene heart, embraced every moment. This was his purpose, his quiet joy, his unending journey. And as the night deepened, the stars above seemed to hum a silent tune, a cosmic lullaby for the tireless traveler, inviting him into the deep, restorative peace of sleep, where the journey continued, boundless and serene. Good night. Marco's duties also extended to observing the diverse religious practices that flourished within the Khan's expansive empire. He visited ancient Buddhist temples, their serene courtyards filled with the soft chanting of monks and the gentle scent of incense. He noted the intricate mandalas, the towering statues of the Buddha, and the quiet devotion of the worshippers. The rhythmic sound of prayer wheels turning, the soft rustle of robes, the occasional, deep resonance of a temple bell. These were the sounds of spiritual contemplation, a world away from the bustling markets or the silent deserts. He spent time in these peaceful sanctuaries, observing the daily rituals, the meditative practices, and the philosophical discussions. He learned of the concepts of karma and reincarnation, of the path to enlightenment, and of the importance of compassion and mindfulness. These were ideas that, while different from his own Christian upbringing, resonated with a universal search for meaning and peace. His journal entries from these visits were filled with sketches of temple architecture, descriptions of religious ceremonies, and careful notes on the various schools of Buddhist thought. He recorded the different types of offerings made, the symbolism of the sacred objects, and the role of the monks in the community. These observations, devoid of judgment, were a testament to his open-mindedness and his deep respect for the spiritual lives of others. He also encountered communities of Nestorian Christians, a branch of Christianity that had spread eastward along the Silk Road centuries before. He found their churches to be simpler, often adorned with familiar symbols, and their services to be conducted in ancient Aramaic. The sound of their hymns, though sung in a foreign tongue, carried a familiar resonance, a connection to his own faith. He shared meals with them, exchanged stories of their respective Christian traditions, and found a quiet comfort in their shared beliefs. These encounters were a gentle reminder of the enduring presence of his own culture, even in the most distant lands. Furthermore, Marco observed the practices of various animistic and shamanistic traditions, particularly among the nomadic tribes. He witnessed ceremonies conducted under the open sky, where shamans, adorned with feathers and furs, would enter trance states, seeking guidance from ancestral spirits and the forces of nature. The rhythmic drumming, the hypnotic chanting, the flickering light of the campfire, these created an atmosphere of ancient mystery and profound connection to the earth. He noted the reverence these people held for the natural world, their belief in the spirits of mountains, rivers, and animals. He documented their healing rituals, their divination practices, and their oral traditions that passed down generations of wisdom. These observations, while perhaps initially unfamiliar, were recorded with the same meticulous detail and respectful curiosity as all his other findings. The evenings after such varied and often profound observations were a time for Marco to consolidate his thoughts. He would often seek out a quiet place, perhaps a secluded corner of a caravanserai courtyard, or a small room in a guest house, and light his oil lamp. The soft glow would illuminate his journal, a faithful companion that had traveled with him through so many landscapes and cultures. The scratch of his quill on the parchment, the gentle rustle of the pages, the occasional sigh as he paused to recall a specific detail, these were the soothing sounds of his nightly ritual. He wrote not with urgency, but with a steady, deliberate hand, ensuring that every observation, every reflection, was captured with accuracy and clarity. His goal was not to sensationalize, but to present a factual yet deeply human account of the world as he saw it. He pondered the intricate tapestry of human belief, how different peoples sought to understand the mysteries of existence, to connect with something larger than themselves. He saw the common threads that ran through all these traditions: the search for meaning, the desire for peace, the need for community. These were the quiet, universal truths that emerged from his vast and varied observations. Sleep, when it finally arrived, was a deep, unburdened slumber, a gentle descent into a world where the day's observations could be processed and integrated. His dreams were often a continuation of his waking thoughts, a silent replaying of the scenes he had witnessed, the conversations he had heard. They were not vivid or dramatic, but rather a soft, flowing current of images and sensations, a gentle stream that carried him deeper into rest. And in that rest, he found a quiet strength, a renewed sense of purpose for the days that lay ahead. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its intricate details, continued to unfold before him, a never-ending story of human endeavor and natural beauty. And Marco, the patient observer, the tireless chronicler, was its most devoted student, ever ready to listen, to learn, and to record. His journey was a testament to the power of quiet persistence, the profound reward of simply being present, of watching, listening, and understanding. The world, in all its intricate, quiet glory, unfolded before him, and he, with a serene heart, embraced every moment. This was his purpose, his quiet joy, his unending journey. And as the night deepened, the stars above seemed to hum a silent tune, a cosmic lullaby for the tireless traveler, inviting him into the deep restorative peace of sleep, where the journey continued, boundless and serene. Good night. Among the many facets of life, Marco observed the intricate systems of governance and justice within the Khan's empire were particularly noteworthy. He spent time in local administrative centers, watching the quiet, methodical work of scribes and officials, the soft rustle of parchment, the rhythmic dip of quills into inkwells, the hushed voices of petitioners presenting their cases. These were the sounds of an empire maintaining order across vast distances. He noted the careful hierarchy of officials, the detailed record-keeping, and the standardized procedures for collecting taxes and resolving disputes. The fairness, or sometimes the subtle biases, of local judges were observed with a detached curiosity, always seeking to understand the underlying principles at play. His journal entries from these periods were filled with diagrams of administrative structures, lists of official titles, and careful explanations of legal precedents. He documented the different forms of punishment, the methods of interrogation, and the ways in which local customs were integrated, or sometimes overridden, by imperial law. These were not dramatic accounts of rebellion or intrigue, but rather the quiet, factual observations of a system designed to maintain stability and control. He also observed the military garrisons, strategically placed along trade routes and at the borders of the empire, the disciplined movements of soldiers during training, the clinking of their armor, the distant shouts of command. These were the sounds of imperial power, ever present but rarely overtly aggressive. He noted the different types of weaponry, the various uniforms, and the logistical challenges of supplying such a vast army. He learned of the strict codes of conduct, the importance of loyalty, and the constant vigilance required to protect the peace of the Silk Road. These observations, while perhaps less outwardly exciting than tales of battle, provided a deeper understanding of the mechanisms that allowed the Silk Road to flourish as a relatively safe passage for merchants. The evenings in these administrative or military outposts were often a time for Marco to retreat into his own thoughts. After the day's structured observations, he would find a quiet corner, perhaps a small room in a guest house or a secluded spot on a rooftop, and allow his mind to wander. The sounds of the day would gradually fade, replaced by the gentle hum of the night, the distant call of a sentry, the soft whinny of a horse, the murmur of conversation from a nearby barracks. He would sit for hours, contemplating the vastness of the empire, the intricate web of human lives and systems that held it together. He thought of the countless individuals, each playing their small part, contributing to the grand tapestry of the Khan's dominion. It was a system of immense complexity, yet it operated with an underlying simplicity, a natural flow that mirrored the rivers and winds of the world. His thoughts would often drift to Venice, to the familiar sounds of the Grand Canal, the scent of the sea, the faces of his family. These memories were like distant stars, always present, always a gentle guide, but never pulling him away from the present moment. He had learned to live fully in the now, to embrace each experience with an open heart and a curious mind. Sleep, when it finally arrived, was a deep and restorative slumber, a gentle descent into a world where the day's observations could be processed and integrated. His dreams were often a continuation of his waking thoughts, a silent replaying of the scenes he had witnessed, the conversations he had heard. They were not vivid or dramatic, but rather a soft, flowing current of images and sensations, a gentle stream that carried him deeper into rest. And in that rest he found a quiet strength, a renewed sense of purpose for the days that lay ahead. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its intricate details, continued to unfold before him, a never-ending story of human endeavor and natural beauty. And Marco, the patient observer, the tireless chronicler, was its most devoted student, ever ready to listen, to learn, and to record. His journey was a testament to the power of quiet persistence, the profound reward of simply being present, of watching, listening, and understanding. The world in all its intricate quiet glory unfolded before him, and he, with a serene heart, embraced every moment. This was his purpose, his quiet joy, his unending journey. And as the night deepened, the stars above seemed to hum a silent tune, a cosmic lullaby for the tireless traveler, inviting him into the deep, restorative peace of sleep, where the journey continued, boundless and serene. Good night. Marco's journey through the vastness of the Mongol Empire was a continuous lesson in the subtle art of observation. He learned to discern the unspoken languages of the people, the nuances in their gestures, the stories hidden in their eyes. He noticed the way a potter's hands, calloused and strong, moved with a delicate precision that belied their roughness, shaping clay into forms that had been passed down through generations. The scent of freshly baked bread from a village oven, mingling with the sweet aroma of drying herbs, became a comforting constant, a subtle reminder of the enduring human need for sustenance and warmth. He would often pause by a roadside well, watching the women gather water, their laughter like crystal bells in the quiet afternoon air. The rhythmic creak of the well pulley, the splash of water into earthenware jars, the soft murmur of their conversations. These were the small, everyday sounds that painted a vivid picture of life along the Silk Road. He noted the intricate patterns woven into their baskets, the simple yet elegant designs of their jewelry, the way they carried themselves with a quiet dignity, even in the midst of their daily chores. These were not grand spectacles, but rather the quiet, persistent rhythms of human existence, unfolding with a timeless grace. In the bustling caravanserais courtyards, he observed the meticulous care with which merchants prepared their goods for travel, the careful folding of silks, the secure lashing of ceramic jars, the gentle grooming of the camels. Each action was performed with a deliberate purpose, a quiet dedication to the journey ahead. The distant jingle of camel bells, a sound that had become synonymous with his travels, was a constant gentle reminder of the continuous flow of goods and ideas across the continent. He learned to distinguish the different types of wood used for carts, the various qualities of leather and saddles, the subtle differences in the construction of tents from one region to another. Every detail, however small, contributed to his ever-growing understanding of the intricate web of trade and daily life that sustained the empire. The evenings, after a day filled with such quiet observations, were a time for Marco to retreat into the sanctuary of his own thoughts. He would often find a secluded spot, perhaps a small alcove in a guest house, or a quiet corner of a garden, and allow the day's impressions to settle. The sounds of the night, the distant cry of a jackal, the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, the gentle murmur of a nearby stream, provided a soothing backdrop to his contemplation. He would then open his journal, the familiar weight of it in his hands, and begin the quiet ritual of writing. The soft scratch of his quill on the parchment, the faint scent of ink, the rhythmic movement of his hand, these were the comforting sounds of his nightly reflection. He wrote, not with urgency, but with a steady, measured pace, ensuring that every detail, every nuance, was faithfully recorded. His goal was not to create drama, but to capture the quiet truth of the world as he experienced it. Through his own calm and discerning eyes, he pondered the resilience of the human spirit, the quiet strength found in daily routines, the enduring beauty of simple acts of kindness. He saw how life, in all its varied forms, adapted and flourished, even in the most challenging environments. These were the profound yet understated lessons that the Silk Road continually offered him. Sleep, when it finally arrived, was a deep, unburdened slumber, a gentle descent into a world where the day's observations could be processed and integrated. His dreams were often a continuation of his waking thoughts, a silent replaying of the scenes he had witnessed, the conversations he had heard. They were not vivid or dramatic, but rather a soft, flowing current of images and sensations, a gentle stream that carried him deeper into rest. And in that rest, he found a quiet strength, a renewed sense of purpose for the days that lay ahead. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its intricate details, continued to unfold before him, a never-ending story of human endeavor and natural beauty. And Marco, the patient observer, the tireless chronicler, was its most devoted student, ever ready to listen, to learn, and to record. His journey was a testament to the power of quiet persistence, the profound reward of simply being present, of watching, listening, and understanding. The world in all its intricate, quiet glory unfolded before him, and he, with a serene heart, embraced every moment. This was his purpose, his quiet joy, his unending journey. And as the night deepened, the stars above seemed to hum a silent tune, a cosmic lullaby for the tireless traveler, inviting him into the deep restorative peace of sleep, where the journey continued, boundless and serene. Good night. As Marco Polo continued his journey, he often found himself in the company of scholars and scribes, men dedicated to the preservation and dissemination of knowledge. He would spend hours in quiet libraries, where the air was thick with the scent of old parchment and dried ink, the soft rustle of turning pages, the gentle scratching of quills, the hushed whispers of men deep in study. These were the sounds of intellectual pursuit, a different kind of rhythm from the bustling markets or the silent deserts. He observed the meticulous process of copying manuscripts, the careful illumination of texts, the dedication required to transcribe ancient wisdom. He noted the different writing styles, the various languages, and the intricate systems of annotation. These were not dramatic spectacles, but rather the quiet, persistent efforts that ensured the continuity of culture and learning across generations. He learned of the vast libraries of the East, repositories of knowledge that far surpassed anything he had seen in Europe. He discovered texts on astronomy, medicine, mathematics, and philosophy, many of which were unknown in the Western world. His journal became a record of these intellectual encounters, filled with notes on new concepts, unfamiliar theories, and the names of scholars whose wisdom transcended geographical boundaries. He pondered the profound impact of the printing press, a technology he had observed in China, on the future of knowledge dissemination. The ability to reproduce texts quickly and accurately, he realized, would revolutionize learning and communication, making knowledge accessible to a wider audience. These were not just technological observations, but reflections on the very nature of progress and the slow, inexorable march of human understanding. The evenings in these scholarly environments were often a time for quiet discussion. Marco would engage in conversations with the scholars, exchanging ideas, comparing different philosophical traditions, and sharing insights into the workings of the world. These were not debates, but rather gentle explorations of shared curiosity, a mutual quest for truth that transcended cultural differences. The conversations were often punctuated by long silences, moments of contemplation where ideas were allowed to ripen and deepen. He found a profound satisfaction in these intellectual exchanges, a sense of connection with minds that, despite their different backgrounds, shared a common love for learning. He would then retire to his lodgings, often a simple room within a monastery or a scholar's residence, and continue his nightly ritual of writing. The soft glow of his oil lamp would illuminate the parchment as his quill moved steadily across the page. He wrote not with urgency, but with a deliberate, almost meditative pace, ensuring that every detail, every nuance, was faithfully recorded. His goal was not to sensationalize, but to present a factual, yet deeply human, account of the world as he saw it. Through his own calm and discerning eyes, he pondered the resilience of the human spirit, the quiet strength found in daily routines, the enduring beauty of simple acts of kindness. He saw how life, in all its varied forms, adapted and flourished, even in the most challenging environments. These were the profound yet understated lessons that the Silk Road continually offered him. Sleep, when it finally arrived, was a deep, unburdened slumber, a gentle descent into a world where the day's observations could be processed and integrated. His dreams were often a continuation of his waking thoughts, a silent replaying of the scenes he had witnessed, the conversations he had heard. They were not vivid or dramatic, but rather a soft, flowing current of images and sensations, a gentle stream that carried him deeper into rest. And in that rest, he found a quiet strength, a renewed sense of purpose for the days that lay ahead. The Silk Road, in all its vastness and its intricate details, continued to unfold before him, a never-ending story of human endeavor and natural beauty. And Marco, the patient observer, the tireless chronicler, was its most devoted student, ever ready to listen, to learn, and to record. His journey was a testament to the power of quiet persistence, the profound reward of simply being present, of watching, listening, and understanding. The world in all its intricate, quiet glory unfolded before him, and he, with a serene heart, embraced every moment. This was his purpose, his quiet joy, his unending journey, and as the night deepened, the stars above seemed to hum a silent tune, a cosmic lullaby for the tireless traveler, inviting him into the deep, restorative peace of sleep where the journey continued, boundless and serene. Good night. And so, as the night deepens over the quiet landscape, whether it be the vast desert, the bustling city, or the serene mountain pass, we leave Marco Polo to his well-earned rest. His journey, a tapestry woven with threads of observation, patience, and quiet understanding, continues even in his slumber. The echoes of camel bells, the rustle of silk, the murmur of distant voices, the scent of spices and ancient earth, these gentle sensations drift through his dreams, a soft symphony of the Silk Road. He sleeps, a traveler at peace, his mind a vast archive of wonders, his heart filled with the quiet joy of a life lived fully, without haste or drama. And as his breathing deepens slow and steady, we too can let go, drifting into our own peaceful slumber, carried by the gentle echoes of his journey, towards the quiet horizons of our own dreams. Good night.